Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another video from the Canal Sidings Model Railway channel. I'm still building my baseboards and my baseboard shelf. As you can see, the shelf basically now is finished. I've got the top on, as you can see there. That brown is 3mm MDF, which is sat on top of the speed frame. It's purely there to stop the possibility of baseboards falling through, and it will have holes cut in it where I need to take wires through to get to the baseboards. And you can also see that I have a baseboard sat on, oops, beg your pardon, I have a baseboard sat there which is just bare foam. I haven't done anything to it yet there, and I have a virtually completed baseboard there. And to show you the construction of that baseboard, which I have talked about but you've never actually seen it, I have angled pieces that are made of a piece of MDF and a piece of this 12mm by 35 I think, but not absolutely sure. But the 12mm is important. That gives me a 12mm clearance underneath, which I'll show you in a minute. This is recessed to allow for a 4mm piece of cork to go in there, and that will be all over the top, and that's what I shall be cutting out when it comes to building my points in, and I'll be replacing 4mm cork with a piece of 4mm MDF, and you'll have seen the idea of that when I've been showing you the CTA, the 3D printed servo mount point actuator that we've been working on. I'll just show you underneath this. Stand it up here, move that along a little so that I can stand it up easily. Okay, I think you can see all of that. Yeah, can't quite see the top, so I've had to get ducked down behind the camera again. Not very professional, I know, but there's only me. I don't have a camera operator. So here you can see the timber, and you can see along the edge of it where the MDF is stuck to it. It's 3mm MDF around it, apart from the back, which is 4mm MDF. The reason for that is because the store that I bought it from, I cleaned them out of 3mm, and I had to buy some more, so I bought some 4. I think I bought about 4 sheets or maybe 5 sheets of 3mm, and that's all they had, and I needed more than that, so I filled in with 4mm, which doesn't matter that much. It just adds a bit to the back. That's a little bit of weight to the back. There will eventually be some more bracing across here. There'll probably be 2, one about there, one about there, and obviously they will be fitted in between. It's a bit bumpy just there, as you can see. That bit of wood won't go down there. That can be chipped away. That's where the Gorilla Glue, which is what it's actually all held together with, apart from the actual joint between the MDF and the timber, which is just PVA, good quality wood glue PVA, but this is the kiddie that holds the rest of it together, which is Gorilla Super Strong Glue. It's a sort of a foam type glue. It actually foams up, and that's what you can see here. Little bits of spread out from the joint as it was being made, and it expands about 3 to 4 times its size than it was when you put it on the joint in the first place. So you have to do some serious clamping to hold it together, and I'll show you how I did all of that in some photographs that I took during building this baseboard. All of this area will be painted white to get rid of the, just be some emulsion paint, to get rid of the atmosphere, the foam being open to the atmosphere, because the more you can close it to the atmosphere, the longer it lasts. It's long lasting anyway, but it can shrink apparently. but if you completely close it off to the atmosphere, its chances of shrinking diminish significantly. The reason I haven't fitted these yet is because I'd like to be able to put them on after I've decided where all the points are going. It would be just my luck to say, well, that's about the right distance, I'll fit that there, and then find I end up with a point motor sat right over it and no way of making a hole and being able to actually adjust it and get it in there and get the wiring out. So I'm going to be clever. I'm not going to put points really close to the edge, so I will make sure that that doesn't happen. And the top, as I said, is going to be covered in 4mm. This top is going to be covered in 4mm cork, but I will also paint the top as well, in case I don't get a good joint between the 4mm cork and the glue, and in case the glue doesn't give me a good joint between the cork and the top. As you can see, it don't weigh much. I can almost throw it about one-handed, so I have to be careful. I don't want to knock it about too much. So I'm happy with the weight. This board isn't actually going to go here. It's more likely just going to go along to the other end and move something. Otherwise it'll be a terrible crash. It's most likely that this board will actually sit, I would say, about there. And then at the end, where I've just moved it from, just there will be another board built in, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then looking along to that end, there's another gap before we get to the wall, and that will have another piece of baseboard built into it as well. So that the two major pieces of baseboard are A, easy to get in and out, and secondly, both of them have some kind of overhang at the ends of canal sidings, which means that I can get to their connections for their wiring without having to move canal sidings out of the way every time. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move the camera. Oops. I just hit myself on something. I'm going to move the camera back to that end, and I'm going to move it so that we can talk about it a little bit closer. And I'm going to move that baseboard back to there so that we can actually talk about the next thing I want to do. So, I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're in a slightly different position now, and you can see the whole of the baseboard again, but from the end nearest where the existing track work is, which is now just there. Now what I intend to do is I'm having 3 tracks that run round from that point all the way round to where the 3 tracks would converge on the other side. You've seen 3 tracks already on the other side. I intend to take those much further around the room. But just here I intend to extend one of those 3 tracks to run behind there and around where you can't now see. I'll just turn you so that you can see past the pillar drill to about where that lone piece of wood is there. To about that piece of wood I want to extend the tracks, or the one track I mean. The reason for that is it gives me a head shunt. But what I would actually like to do, and I have no idea whether this is possible, is extend it all the way round this piece and all the way round past those locos there and all the way round to join onto and I don't know whether I can see it. There are, as you know, there are 3 tracks across here plus a dead end. This track just joins into the main line at the moment. I don't know if you can see much of it. What I'm hoping to do is extend that track all the way around on the inside of that curve that we've just run round as well. Now, whether I'm going to be able to achieve that or not, I don't know. But if I can, then I will have a 3-track main line running all round the room. An up and a down fast and a freight loop, basically a bi-directional freight loop. So it will give a little bit more scope for running more trains at the same time, which for me is a good thing when I'm just playing, and it possibly makes it a bit more interesting to you when we're showing videos. One thing I would like some comments on is this area here. This is the end of the baseboards as they stand, and this is the original baseboard. Now, we can't have that in the scenic section because that is the power that takes that is the point that takes the lighting power into the garage. It actually only goes as far as a mains adapter that's further round the bend, and then it's 12 volts in the garage. But I can't go any further with my back scene than there. So what I'm looking for is, I don't mind being able to see some of this crossover, but what would be ideal is the back scene to finish about here, and I can extend the piece of baseboard that really goes here. This isn't the piece. I can extend the piece that really goes here to wrap round the corner of that, and it will just have no track on it. It will just be scenic. But what I'm looking for is some way of making a scenic break here. My head is sort of full of possibilities, none of which have so far rung true to what I can do. So what have you got as ideas for a scenic break? Doesn't have to be a bridge, definitely doesn't want to be a tunnel. Not really. It could just about be a tunnel, but because there's a crossover hanging out of it, not really sure that would be very prototypical. So tunnel's probably out. I've thought of all sorts of bridges, and so far none of the bridges that I've thought of just really float my boat. They don't really come up to what I want. So what I'd like is shove out some comments, as crazy as you like. I don't mind what they are, because you know, even the craziest comment might give me the idea of exactly what I can do there. The other thing to note is that this baseboard is just a little bit too low at the moment, so I moved it because it's got to have a stop at the back. We'll come to that when I build it, but it's just too low here at the moment. This needs to be lifted, and will be when it gets bolted to the bottom of that. I can hardly hold it. I don't know what you can see there, but that will set the datum point for where this end of the baseboards are, and then the rest will continue along as level as they possibly can be. So, comments welcomed on what you think I ought to do there. What you think I could do there. Okay, so what I'll now do is I'll go through the collage of photographs that I took and explain them as I show them to you. So this first photograph shows one of the side rails for that baseboard being built. As you can see, lots of clamps just holding the timber hard against the MDF while the glue dries. The important thing there is to get the alignments as well as you can, as accurate as you can, of the edges of the boards being coincidental and the ends being coincidental, and getting the best right angle possible between the MDF and the piece of timber. And I have to make two of those, and as I say, they're glued together with a good quality woodwork PVA. Right, then when we've got the two rails built, what we do is we fix them to the foam, which is what this next photograph shows, both at once, using long bar clamps to hold it all together, and they are fixed on with the Gorilla Glue, which expands 3 to 4 times what you put on, so you do have to clamp them tightly, and the tighter you clamp them apparently, and the better the squeeze out, not squeeze out necessarily, but the better it's squeezed, the stronger the joint becomes. And what you do is you simply put the Gorilla Glue on one surface. I chose to put the Gorilla Glue on the edge rails, and then you just put a spray of water, in my case, on the foam, and the water activates the glue. It will dry without water because it will take it in from the atmosphere, but you put some on and it's definitely activates it and makes it set even harder. As I say, the bar clamps are just holding everything together to stop it all moving while the glue dries, and that takes between 1 and 2 hours. I like to leave it about 2 hours. The other thing that photograph shows is that with the new layout in this room, I am capable of turning my bench round sideways. Now that Canal Sidings is back about 7 or 8 inches from where it was before, I can now turn the bench round at 90 degrees to Canal Sidings, which gives me even more places where I can put it and lose it to get it out of my way when I'm working on other things, but still have a bench that I can work on. Okay, the next photograph shows one of the end pieces being glued together. I've just used spring clamps this time because they fit on easier. And it's only sitting where it is to get it exactly right. As soon as I got those clamps right, I took it off of there and let it set away from the baseboard, because I didn't want the PVA to start sticking and giving me problems before I got the Gorilla Glue in. And the last picture shows fitting the two ends. Having made two right angled end pieces, they have to be fitted. And the way that was done was again with the very long bar clamps, which are nearly 5 feet long. I think that they're meant for clamping about 4'6", and they just hold it all together again while the glue sets. The two clamps at the bottom left and bottom right are clamping the whole thing down to the bench, because I didn't quite get the angle right on the one at this end, so I had to put it right by forcing everything to bend a degree or so back into position. And the easy way of stopping it from popping out of the bottom and making a step was to do that. So that's the only reason they're there. That's my mistake in the previous section. So that gives you an idea of how everything is put together, and the net result is that piece of baseboard that we've seen already now. As I say, any ideas you've got for scenic breaks, no matter how outrageous or how basic, just, put them down. And the more information you give me about what you're thinking, the better, because even if I don't like the basic idea, I might be able to mould it into something that I do like. So I'm going to wind this video up now, and I'm going to get on making my second baseboard. Anyway, so I will close the video now and say thanks for watching, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Bye.